Today in this podcast, we're going to be talking all about health. Health is something that I think is understated in the success of somebody's ability to leverage their health inside of having a successful business and getting the most out of your overall life. I think something that's not spoken about enough is how somebody who has a fit body tends to have a fit mind, and somebody who has both of those fits tend to ultimately have that translate into their business. Today, we have somebody who focuses on the science, research, and education around your health. And I'd like to join Clellon. Tell us a little bit about yourself today, buddy. How are you doing?
Hey everyone, I'm doing well. So for me, more so, I'm from Alabama. I've worked in the underserved PE before. I've been in all aspects of health. And throughout this entire journey, I just understood that exercise for health, and thus what is exercise isn't necessarily defined to the general public. And founded Wellness Warrior just to help bring the education even more, educating people on how you can do different exercises, why it's meaningful for your body. On Mondays, I talk about different research topics in regards to exercise in your body. And I'm just proud to continue to push this movement as what is Wellness Warrior.
So I always am interested to understand when somebody creates a business, typically it's like, I see a huge gap in the market. Let
Mhm.
me solve that gap. I would tell you one of the most frustrating things just about fitness, health, what is healthy. I think it's so hard to get a clear answer on that. From like, we'll just start at the diet. And I think the diet is probably the most important part of your physical health.
Yes.
Starts right there with your diet and what we put in our mouths. And some people will tell you like the vegan diet is the healthiest. Some people will tell you the complete opposite is don't eat any vegetables, literally only eat meat. Some people will tell you like high protein. Some people will sell you no protein. I mean, the variety of examples of opinions you can get are so wide ranging. I tend to subscribe to you should probably try all of them and then understand maybe what works best with your
That's
biology.
for
But I'm
you.
sure there's
Yes.
data that supports one being better than the other and one being significantly worse than the other. What do you see? I mean, is that the gap that you were trying to solve, which is this clearing out all the noise and just providing data behind what you should do and knowing where you should go to get those resources?
Yeah, and I think you just touched on it. For me, more so, everybody is different and everybody is different. So what I may eat works best for my body, but what my friends or family may eat necessarily works best for them. But also at the root of everything, you have the nutrients you should eat, the carbs, all of that everyone should have at the same time. But this is why I tell all my clients and every individual, if you need more, go see a nutritionist, because that nutritionist has gone to school. That nutritionist knows how to program everything specifically to your body. And the word diet can be seen as very loose. So my diet for me is completely different than someone who needs a special diet. So that's why I'm the professional, or I like to tell everyone, go see that professional in that area, because like you just said, there's so many different diets, and you never know what you need if you don't go get that professional help.
Yeah, I mean, so my thought on it, and by all means, I am not as researched or as informed, as educated as you. Okay, but I,
Mhm.
but I, I find fitness something I'm very interested in. Growing up, I was an athlete. In my mid 20s, I became a fat guy when I met my wife and got very comfortable and was working too
Mhm.
much and lost touch of my own physical health. I got it as much as 230 pounds. I'll have the editor put a picture in of me riding a horse at 230 pounds, and man, I feel bad for that horse. And now I'm a guy who's in his 150s and I lift weights every day. I work out. I really, really focus on my diet. And I think my physical health is a big part of what I do that gets me through every day. I think a lot of people have that same struggle. And I think a lot of people don't even know
For
what they're
sure.
doing with what they should be doing. Is there a protocol that you look at? Because I think the idea of what you just said, which is go see a nutritionalist, the advice on the surface is great. But man, if you would have gone to a nutritionist 5 years ago and they pointed you to this fucking food pyramid, like they just literally, at least I heard that, they just literally flipped the food pyramid on its head just a couple of weeks ago and said now literally everything they've told you since like the whatever time they came out with that is the absolute complete opposite of what you should be doing. So my concern is if you go see a specialist on nutrition, I'd probably focus on going to somebody under 30 years old. Is that crazy, Clellon?
No, I think also with someone under 30, for me personally, I would go to someone who's still well-rounded with current research. And I saw I'm gonna say the stigma behind the food pyramid being flipped upside down, but we all know at the root, you do need proteins, you need carbs, you need veggies, you need fruit in your diet. So if you focus on that, I think that's best because again, like the food pyramid it's more so what I wanna call like a guideline, what you should eat, but then also with nutrition as well, like that's very loose. So you have people who are on special diets. So you have some individuals who say you have someone who doesn't eat meat. So with that regard, you have to just be able to flip it. But I would definitely go to someone who's fresh, if someone who's still researching the industry, seeing what norms are norm and what isn't there.
Yeah, I mean, completely agree with you. I mean, now the question is, how do you, Clellon, find the research that is unbiased? At least I've heard, and I don't know, you probably know better than me. There was a major study that came out like back in the 50s that demonized certain things, promoted high sugar diets. um, I think that the food pyramid was also very much funded by certain food organizations to promote
Mhm.
certain things and to unpromote other. How do you get clear science that isn't have an agenda behind it?
So honestly, looking at research articles that within the last 5 years, and you might find one, but sometimes it's best for me. Like I look up three different articles and then just say I'm searching up nutrition for chronic disease. I would refine what chronic disease I'm looking at, and then find 3 or 5 articles, compare and contrast those, and see if they are necessarily saying the same thing. And also, always find a scholarly source. Make sure that this source is credible. Make sure that it is within the last 5 years, and the individuals have those credentials. Because again, like in today's society, there's so much misinformation. There's people talking about diets, nutrition, eating habits that are not even qualified. They're giving you their opinion and not a science-backed opinion.
Do you have an opinion, or does science have an opinion on right now for the masses? This is what works best from a overall, like if you had to prescribe the average individual, what is the prescription you would give on a diet? And once again, we've already said every individual is different. What might work for you might be different for me, but if we look at the average individual, what should they be doing from a diet perspective?
So I guess it honestly just depends on like what they want to do. So say you have the individual who is wanting to lose weight. So I use the mathematics that teaches me how many calories their body needs to function. And then from that point, we come up with a number on how many calories you need to lose weight. And then from that point, you break it down by protein, carbs. So again, it's a lot of math behind it. So with protein, there's a certain equation to use for when you want to lose weight. So it's all equation based, and that's what do. That's why I like the science part of it all because I'm using these equations that I was taught to help you reach your goals, and I'm not just pulling something off the internet like, "Oh, this is what ChatGPT told me to do."
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are using ChatGPT, and I think it'll be even
Mhm.
further in regards to, like, I've seen people like my personal trainers that, my dietitians that, all these different things where ChatGPT can be your everything for everything. But once again,
Yeah.
it's just pulling from sources as well. So if you have a better place to get better refined sources, then I think that kind of helps that. I tell you what's worked for me, and I think that the general way I think I would tell somebody who asked me on advice if they need to lose weight would just be a macros based diet. Is
Yes.
identify where my maintenance calorie level would be. I tend to
Mhm.
lean heavy on high protein and low fat. Tends to make me feel better. So if I can get my goal as a guy who's 150, 60 pounds is I want to get about 200 grams of protein in a day. I want to have my caloric intake to be around 23 to 2,500 calories. And how I supplement the rest of my macros, the rest of my calories outside of protein, would be a mix of carbs and fat. But I tend to like more of a high carb diet than a high fat diet. I just tend to work better in that capacity. Um, Now, a lot of people today, January of 2026, are learning about new shortcuts. And those
Mhm.
new shortcuts are in the avenue of an injection or a pill. And we've always said if there was a magic pill that could make you do all of the things you want fitness to give you, and I think when people think that, they think of just the body they want to have, not the alternative things that fitness gives you,
Mhm. Or
which is,
overall
can you
health.
take it? Should you take it? Right, exactly. What is your feeling around the GLP-1s, GLP-3s? You know, you've got Retta, you've got Ozempic, you've got all these peptides that I think are helping a ton of people who maybe without them wouldn't go get the help. But I think obviously there are people who are using them poorly. What are your thoughts on them as a whole?
All right. First, I want to touch on like with your diet. I love how you talk about you do what works best for you. And that's what I think many people tend to forget is that you have to do what works best for you and your body because you know your body most importantly than anyone else. But in regards to GLP-1s, that's a touchy situation currently in this day and time. I personally didn't know, like, I've looked at research, I've been on seminars. One is affecting muscle mass. Like, I talked with a researcher before, and she told me how there was this individual who was on GLP-1s for so long, wasn't working out. So she developed sarcopenia much earlier than the normal person. So you have that issue. And two, when you are putting something into your body that, hey, your body doesn't necessarily need, there are going to be issues later on. And I think right now we are setting up the general public, and this is coming from like my public health background. We're setting up the general public to issues later on in life. I'm pretty sure later on there will be class action lawsuits because the GLP-1s are too accessible, and it's like, "Oh, just go pay this much money and you can get it every month," without actually seeing if that person needs it, without the true education, without letting them know that, "Hey, once you start this, your body's going to get used to it, and if you don't be proactive with exercise, eating right, there's going to be issues later on." And I think the industry right now is just so caught up on how can we make a quick buck, and then how can we help the public overall.
Yeah, and I'm kind of torn in that statement that you just made too, because I know that, just in the past couple months, essentially the government passed a law to essentially be able to monopolize the creation
Mhm.
of GLP-1s through Eli Lilly. And I think that actually hurts the general public's accessibility to access to the drug and to the availability of it. And I know short term, at least it was sold to us that it's going to cut the cost down. But I think that whenever you monopolize something, it only gives the likelihood of the cost of it being increased. I'm encouraged in the fact that GLP-1s are not the only direction somebody can go in that. I personally have used Retta myself, but I also am a person who has done extensive blood work on myself prior to
Mhm.
taking it.
Okay.
I've done blood work consistently through it. What it helped me do is it helped me quiet the food noise. It helped me not have to think about food all day as a guy who is always thinking about food, and I don't take it at a very high dosage. I don't take it in that capacity. Now, when I first started taking it, I lost a lot of weight, and I did not maintain muscle mass that I had in that process
Mhm.
because I was eating at such a deficit. But now I use it in a much lower amount. I am very heavily weight training. I weight train 5 days a week. I hit every body part at
Good.
least twice a week with heavy to failure progressive overload in my workout process. And as I went through a bulking phase where I came out of it, I gained about 18 pounds in a 90-day span and have just come back on it to at a very slow amount to be able to reduce the body fat in before I go into the summer lean months where I want to be a little bit lighter. And I've so far have been able to maintain the muscle mass because I'm still maintaining a certain amount of protein. I'm
Mhm.
still maintaining a certain amount of resistance training to be able to maintain the majority of my muscle mass. But for those people who are just taking it to not go to the gym, and
That
just
that
less,
part.
you will lose a healthy percentage of fat, but you will also lose a healthy percentage of your muscle mass. And yes, your size will go down in a variety of different ways. And in most cases, from a longevity perspective, and you tell me if we're wrong here, Clellon, but like one of the biggest indicators of longevity is just muscle mass and being
Muscle
able to
mass indeed.
maintain muscle mass in your later years. And so people who want to just be thin, it's not necessarily healthier for you. You want to maintain as much muscle mass as possible without being somebody who's overdoing it.
Yeah, and I think we tend to also forget that if you lose weight fast, it affects your body so much more. Like it's unhealthy to lose weight that fast and that rapid. Like on average, you can expect to lose 1 to 2 pounds a week, but when you're shooting over that, you're putting your body in fight or flight mode. And when you are taking away those important nutrients that you need, your body is in that fight or flight mode. You're putting it in so much stress. And then talk about the stress from under eating and say you have a stressful life, you are setting your body up for failure.
Yeah, and look, to me, the way I look at peptides is I think they're a tool. I'm an
Mhm.
informed studied individual in regards to my own health. As I said, I do blood work. I check myself consistently. I have no matters and issues as a 42-year-old guy. And if I did, I wouldn't do it. But I am very, very health conscious. I'm very conscious of what I eat, how I eat. I work out. I said weight train 5 days a week. I probably walk about 15,000 steps a day.
Okay, good.
The movement, the activity. I think, and this is kind of where I want to transition it. Before we get too deep into the fitness side of it, I think that the part that of the fitness that's not talked about enough, which is what it does for your brain, what it does
Yes,
for everything else, like getting a good night's sleep, getting up in the morning, knocking a workout in. I get up every morning at 6 o'clock. I'm home by 7:30. I have 30 minutes to be calm, quiet before everybody else in my household wakes up. And man, the peace that comes over me after that period is irreplaceable because I got the
it
hardest
really
part of my
is.
day knocked out before anybody else in my house is awake. I push my body to an uncomfortable place. And now I'm free the rest of the day with a clear, calm mind because I've
Hmm.
exerted myself fully in that sense. And then I like to take multiple breaks. Typically, I'll eat food, and then to help better digest that food, I'll do about a 20-minute walk around the neighborhood post eating to help digest that food. And that, for me, is probably the strongest thing for my creativity as an entrepreneur to be able to not have music on, not have a podcast on, just walk. And the amount of thoughts that I have in those
Hmm.
20-minute walks is irreplaceable. What are your thoughts on that?
Just like so, like me, I run over this last year and a half. I've gotten into running very heavily. I used to do it more so for fun, but it's like you said, when I go on a run, my base run is 3 miles. But if I'm stressed out or if there's stuff that I want to focus on, I can just keep running. It's something about that runner's high truly. And it's just like you said, being outside, being in nature, it helps your mental health. I don't think we talk about enough on the positive aspect of exercise, moving your body and how it relates to your mental health. And I think some people get so caught up with mental health and like anxiety or depression, but it can also be brain fog, if you're just stressed out, or you just want to have that moment of where your brain turns off, that's what exercise does for me. And I'm sure like if many people started relating it to that, like exercise can be self-care. It can be that moment where you finally get that peace that you deserve because everybody wants some alone time.
Look, man, and I know I'm different than everybody. I know not everybody's
Mhm.
like me. I'll say that. Not different than everybody, but everybody's not like me. For me, when I start telling myself I don't want to do something, that's when I need to do it the most.
Same.
And when I don't want to go to the gym in the morning, that's when I need it the most. I
Mhm.
every basically every quarter for the past 2 years, I'll do a 72-hour fast. I never want to do it. I never want to
But
do it. But
but you know you
every
need to
time
do it.
I'm done doing it, I'm so happy I did it. And when I tell myself, yeah, I need to do my fast, and I don't want to do it, I'm like, oh, you need to do it now. Now's the time you need to do it. Because to me, I think there's so much value in dominating yourself, your mental will. I think being able to say, I don't want to, but that's the reason I do need to do it. And then
Mhm.
defeating the inner noise, I think is such a strong thing that I think a lot of people don't allow them to ever feel the benefits of overcoming their own internal dialogue. What are your thoughts on that?
Completely true. Like I tell people all the time. So say you've had a long day, you know you need to go to the gym. Put the clothes on, go ahead and drive to the gym. Once you're there, you know you're going to do it. But then a lot of people psych themselves out. So you get in your head like, well, if I don't go, what's the worst? Or like just think when you start to think too deep on something, that's your sign that hey, maybe I need to do it. That's you are willpower, taking that strength over your body, taking control and just showing that I can do this. Once I do it, I'm thankful that I done it because it's the clarity you get after doing it, the energy boost, depending on what time of day you work out. Even if you just go on a simple walk, you get such a good energy boost. It's like a caffeine rush for people that drink caffeine. That's the same feeling you get from it. You release endorphins in your brain. So do it, move,
Yeah.
find something that works best for you.
The biggest misconception is, well, I'm already exhausted. I don't have the energy to work
Mhm.
out. Like, newsflash, go work out. I bet you have the energy to do everything else you want to do. The workout will actually create energy for
Hey,
you, not reduce
yes.
energy for you. Now, don't get me wrong. While you're in the workout, yeah, you're gonna be tired, man. I did legs day yesterday. I left the gym. I could hardly get to my car by the time I got there. But man, 30 minutes later, nothing could bother me. You couldn't get me frustrated after putting myself through that workout. All right, so let's talk a little bit about your app. So tell me a little bit about what you do and the program and what you're building with your business.
So I'd like to say I'm building a movement. So I do right now in the Kansas City area, I'm hosting different pop-ups and spaces where you normally wouldn't think of bringing wellness. But for me, it's making it accessible to everyone, making people see that the gym or working out doesn't have to be in the traditional gym. Like I've done pop-ups in breweries, I've done coffee shops, I've done it at a street apparel place, but also with my app, I do on-demand workouts. I can do nutritional guidance. I call it exercise prescription plans for individuals because your plan is specifically tailored to you, what you need. I go over a intensive consultation form with you, stress management, all of that to make sure that this plan we're working out, it's working for you and just showing people that it's truly for everyone. That's why on Mondays I do Wellness Monday. This week I talked about how natural creatine has been proven a 25% increase in helping women and their reproductive health. So just showing people that even sports nutrition, exercise, whatever it is, it's truly for everyone. Even if the segment that I'm talking about that week isn't for you, you may know someone and just showing people that there's a reason why people exercise, but there's also a reason why it isn't educated enough because it's a natural medicine. Exercise truly is medicine. And I always tell people it's just routine maintenance for your body, like you would do for your car. You can get a new car, but you only get one body. So just move it at least 30 minutes a day.
I'm so glad you said that. I mean, one of the things that's the most motivating to me, Clellon, and I'm sure you probably have experienced this too. When you go to the gym and there's a person in a wheelchair working out, or you go to the gym and there's a wounded veteran who's missing part of his leg working out. And then I'm like, how can I not go push my God given body to its fullest every single day when you have people that don't have the same physical
The
capabilities I have going there to do it? Like, I see that as like such a waste. And to your point, like, we only have one body, like, use it to the best of your ability. And I'm a person, as I shared before, I've abused my body in the past. I've
Mhm,
abused my body, when I was younger. I probably worked out too much. And then I didn't work out at all for many years and gained a lot of weight. Um,
mhm.
but you come to the light eventually. So let me ask you this: for your program, for your app, for your service, who is your ideal customer that's using your service? Is it people who want to be more informed and educated around how to be better, how to be healthier? Is it maybe other personal trainers who have their own client base and they want to kind of have a community on there? I mean, what exactly is the audience for your service?
So and I get asked that often. So my audience for my service is tailored to everyone. I'm an educator at heart. So I'm an exercise science professor, so I educate the general public. But also, I love working with individuals. So, like, I've worked with a client who has diabetes. I'm currently working with individuals who just simply want to gain more muscle and tone their bodies. I love the versatility of this industry, but also I feel like you asked about like different personal trainers. I feel that sometimes they see it as competition, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to educate everyone. And if you want to use my resources to help educate your clients, perfect, because that's what this platform is for. But also for me, I love working and helping different bodies because I love how it keeps me up to date on research as well and how I can help your body.
How do you um how do you make this app profitable? Do you charge the audience for like a monthly membership? Is there a download fee? Is there a using certain phases of the app? There's a cost to it. How does that make it a profitable business instead of just an education resource?
Okay, so the education is free. I want to make sure that education is accessible to everyone. But if you want the more in-depth training from me, that's a fee. Even with the on-demand classes, I also have a recipe book that you can purchase, and I'm almost finished with a lifestyle blueprint for individuals as well. Just because with the lifestyle blueprint, it breaks down like what is protein, what is exercise, like the basics, and just teaching people how you can like remap your thought process, remap what you thought exercise was, and just those other aspects they do cost, but truly be the reason it costs is because you get more one-on-one from me, but the education will always and forever be free to the general public because there isn't enough education around exercise. So I want to make sure that everyone does have access to that.
Got it. Okay, so it's providing educational resources which could be used by anybody and everybody. But then in
Correct.
turn, the next phase of that is they then start working with you as a client. They become a client, whether that on additional consulting around nutrition, physical health, all of the different things of what they might need help with in that regards. Now, you had mentioned that a lot of the pop-up things you do are obviously local to you, but is there a limitation to being able to really expand this outside of where you are, or is this have the opportunity to be a nationwide or even a worldwide app for people in network?
I definitely want this movement to be nationwide. I'm working on where I'm currently at right now here in Kansas City, but I do want to take it to new cities. I do want to take it to places where you wouldn't necessarily see it. I'm from Alabama. I'm from a small town. The town that I'm from, there isn't a community center. There isn't a community fitness center. So I'm currently in talks with bringing a pop-up to the town that I'm from because that means a lot to me and to the citizens of the town, and just teaching them that movement is fun and I'm taking it there, but then I want to take this movement nationwide for sure.
Is the pop-up concept profitable, or is that just for exposure?
It's both actually. So, the one that I'm doing back at home will be free just due to like the demographic of that, but I partner with local businesses that have a lot of followers and just partner with them and grow from there. And one thing that I've learned, I do a lot of like social media, obviously in this industry, but there can be people that like the video or the flyer, but when you give that, I message them individually and invite them. It builds that connection early on, and a lot of people want that connection. They want to know that, like, "Hey, I was invited to this space," but it just builds that community that I'm building and building a movement even more.
Let's say you had a massive cash influx into the investment into your business. What would you do with that?
I would So for me, it's the small town at heart. I think I would pour into being able to do pop-ups in small communities, small cities who need that educational movement. I would do it to allow me to go to those places to host pop-ups, but then put more back into the business, allowing like more growth and whatever that looks like, but definitely giving back to those areas that need it first and foremost, because we tend to forget about those people in those communities all the time.
What I see an opportunity for you, and maybe you also see the same opportunity, which is to then be able to ultimately try to duplicate yourself in regard to those pop-up efforts. I think one of your limitations will be when this app business and everything else is centered around you being
Mhm.
the value, then you can only grow it to as much as your bandwidth allows. But if you have a way to bring in junior people, certify them, qualify them, and have them be a representative of what you do, I think is really your opportunity to truly expand the idea and the aspect. Is that a part of the plan once you kind of really anchor in Kansas City and then in Alabama? Is that the plan, is to then find junior versions of you that you can have across the country and even the world?
Definitely, because I know I'm like currently I'm a one man show. Everything that people see, I'm doing it all. But like right now, I enjoy it because it helps me be the creative brain behind it all. I get to set up the foundation of what Wellness Warrior is. But then later on, when we are booming, I will look for those same individuals that have the same traits and qualities that I have because I still want you to make it fun, but you have to have that passion behind it, and that's what I'm building. It's just the passion and the education behind it. So for sure.
What are your plans and your goals for 2026? I mean, we just, for all the listeners, as we record this, it's the middle of January in 2026. So I really like to ask people, not just business wise, I mean, obviously that's important too, but maybe even personally, what are your big goals you're running towards in 2026?
So in 2026, one of the biggest is more exposure in like the local area because everyone knows like Kansas City is getting so much nationwide attention just from the different celebrities and everything. So I know once I continue to get that movement growing here, get it growing in Alabama, that gives my business more exposure. And as we talked today, I'm I like to say I'm doing something completely different. So more business exposure, more pop-ups in the city, maybe even a few more pop-ups in cities that I don't live in. But um, just continuing to grow this movement, more pop-ups, getting more one-on-one clients. But personally, I also finished my doctorate program this year. So continue once I finish that, set this business, this movement up for success even more, utilizing my credentials and just continue having conversations like this to draw that exposure, continue building this up as a amazing movement, but also something that educates people on what exercise truly is and how it can help your body overall. Just like you said, like 2 weeks in, and I'm already booked up with pop-ups through the end of February, and more are coming day in and day out. So continue the exposure and just for me, meeting people where they are, going to businesses and showing face. I think sometimes we got so stuck on like the digital age that we'll send someone an email, but they don't, you need to put a name with the face and definitely doing that as well.
Okay, perfect. So, before we go, I like to ask every one of our guests, um, any final words for the audience? Any final words for what what you are building, what the audience might benefit? Obviously, we're gonna put how to get in touch with you, how to access your service, your app, and the resources that you're providing. I know hopefully everybody who's listening has some major fitness goals for this year and have a completely strategy planned out. But what final words might you have for everybody?
My final words for everyone would just be that understand that you don't compare yourself to anyone else. Like we talked today, like my journey is completely different than Matt's. Understand that you have to start somewhere, and once you start that place, you continue to build. It's okay to give yourself grace, but also most importantly, when you're in your head, that's your body telling you, like, I want to see how hard you're willing to fight. So in 2026, push hard for your goals because it will get tough, but that's when you fight harder.
Love that. All right, so everybody who's listening, like, share, comment, share this information. Let's get as many healthy resources in as many people's possible's hands. It sounds like Clellon is doing all the hard work for you, so you don't have to think, you don't have to do that. You just go to his app, and he'll be able to provide you all the answers to what you need. And hopefully, you guys liked him so much that you'll book some time with him to have him help coach you and consult with you
For
on your
sure.
future goals as well. Until next time, guys, appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
Have a good one, everyone.